Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, we're going to tell you all about the former AEW wrestler who felt unheard during their time in the company.
Could Tyson Fury be making a shock return to WWE?
Kenny Omega has brutally buried Jim Cornette, and I quote, his extremely pathetic followers.
And WWE is on the verge of repackaging yet another NXT 2.0 wrestler. I'm Adam Wilborn.
Oh!
And this is the news.
Alright, we're going to kick things off by talking about Awesome Kong.
Ooh.
She was interviewed recently by the wonderful and very handsome Chris Van Vliet for his Insight show. Shout out to Chris, does a great job. She had some interesting things to say about her time in AEW. Now, debuted for the company at Double or Nothing 2019. Surprise entrance into that four-way women's match. Brandy Rhodes pulling the old switcheroo. But she was effectively out of the company by February, although her contract didn't expire until the June after that. Nightmare Collective, all that stuff, not particularly well received, that angle, through no fault of Kong's, I don't think.
No.
It was a shame, I thought, as well, that we didn't get Awesome Kong versus Aja Kong, which was teased and would have been fun. But
Right there.
hey, it just didn't happen. She left, went and did the series of Glow she had to film in February 2020 and never returned. So, interesting stuff here. I'm just going to read the quote. Let's read the quote. That's the fairest way to do things. I don't want to sound like I'm bashing the crew over there at AEW, especially since we were all just up and running. We are all new executives and trying to think outside the box and really give it to y'all. Something new, something that hasn't been seen. We've seen it all. We were trying to give you something that you haven't seen. I felt unheard. I wasn't in control. And then she runs through the process about how she couldn't really get into the room where the final decisions were being made, and she would like hang around after big meetings and try and bring things up. Her term is I stalked that room. And she would try and get into the meetings and all of this stuff, but she couldn't really get into them by the sound of things. Now she continues, saying she didn't really have a chance to get ideas across, and she ended up just not pushing certain things. Going on a little bit, saying that it was out of her control, and if it was in her control, if you gave her 15 minutes to, and she uses Nyla Rose as an example, to go out there and steal the show, they could do that, and they could have more of a chance of getting over, presumably. But it's an interesting interview, as it always is with Chris. $1 million man with $1 million bicep. Probably got two biceps, actually, come to think of it. I don't think Humans Are Born was just one of those, but yeah, interesting to think about for sure. I think, Kong left when her contract expired in June 2021. 2 months later, she retired from wrestling at the NWA Empower event. I think, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from her in AEW for sure. A legendary figure, particularly for her work in Impact, where she was just awesome is the perfect word for it. She was absolutely incredible as kind of like the monster of that territory. I loved her. Maybe not quite the wrestler she used to be. I think that's fair to say. By the time she showed up in AEW, but she definitely could have done something.
Yeah, she does feel like a missed opportunity within AEW. Like you say, I'm not suggesting either, like you said, that she should have been maybe world champion within AEW. Yeah. But like you say, there were some matches that were certainly left on the table that I would have loved to have seen her in. And I was lucky enough to be there when she was brought out as a surprise. I got goosebumps. The reaction was ridiculous for her. So I was kind of disappointed. Like you say, they went for the Nightmare Collective stuff. That was a load of bollocks.
It wasn't good.
And then Glow, and then there was. I mean, there wasn't. From her perspective, wasn't really a reason for her to return after she went off to shoot Glow for the reasons you gave there. They didn't really utilise her as much as they could, and like you say, she wasn't the person we saw in TNA or even briefly as, what was it, Karma in WWE. She came out and wrecked Michael Cole, I remember. That was quite fun. But she could have definitely done more for me, and I can understand where she's coming from in this interview.
Yeah, and as well, like Kia Stevens, the woman behind Awesome Kong, I've never heard anything but like the most glowing reviews of all time about her as a human being. So, like, respect to her completely. Obviously, Glow was a big fish for her to fry. Moving into acting, all that stuff. Oh, she was great on the series as well. And it's a shame she's no longer in wrestling, but that's how things happen. All the best to her and whatever she's doing next.
And go and watch the interview on Chris's channel because we love supporting him. He's a top bloke.
Lovely man.
Right, let's talk a little bit about Tyson Fury, who's allegedly in talks over a potential return. This coming from the Forbidden Door himself, Louis Dangoor. I don't know, I just made it up.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Louis Dangoor.
I was panicking there. He's in on the ground floor. It's Louis Dangoor from Give Me
There
Sports.
we go. We've got the rhyme.
He reported that in March, he found out from Fury himself, the Gypsy King could return to WWE during the summer. Tyson mentioned working potentially SummerSlam, which obviously goes down at the end of this month, and Clash at the Castle, which go down at the 3rd of September.
Clash at the Castle. The Castle.
They are in negotiations. As I say, the summer comeback still mooted. Would you like to see him back in WWE?
So it's one of these things, and I saw it get a lot of discussion on social media yesterday, and you can probably tell from the way I've just danced around your question there, my answer. It's one of these things that does make business sense, right?
Yes.
Because it's the UK. He's one of the most successful British boxers of all time, I think.
Yeah, certainly.
But yeah, heavyweight champion of the world, big celebrity over here. So you can see why WWE want to utilize him. I don't know if his personality really translates to pro wrestling. During his last run, I don't think that was really the case. And the Braun match was quite crap.
Yes.
All due respect to Tyson Fury, that guy could breathe in my direction and knock me out. So, you know, like Sean Ross Sapp had a good take on this on Twitter yesterday, or maybe the day before, where he's like, the bar for celebrities is so high now.
Yeah.
Like, you think of all the awesome matches we've had, from Bad Bunny to Logan Paul,
Pat
McAfee, Shaq was fun. It's kind of a hard sell for me personally, but if you're into the dude and you think you could sell some tickets for Clash at the Castle, I don't really have a massive problem with it.
This does strike me as something that Tyson Fury is doing to keep himself busy while Anthony Joshua and Usyk are getting ready for their fight, and then he's going to say, oh, I'll fight the winner of that, because he's meant to be retired, but in reality we all want to see a Joshua Fury fight, British boxing fans. But and for that reason, if he was at SummerSlam or Clash at the Castle, he's just going to be knocking someone out and not really doing a lot. So I'm kind of like, Yeah. I'm not saying that he should do a moonsault or not bother, but no, maybe I am saying that actually. Now I come to think of it. Yeah. Do a moonsault or don't bother. There you go, Tyson Fury.
Shooting star press for me, or a Sasuke special.
Yes.
Anyway, let's move on to our next story here. Let's head over to Kenny Omega. He's kind of ruined Jim Cornette here. This is something. It's from the CEO Gaming stream on Twitch that Kenny did last week. Bunch of interesting stuff came out.
When people got excited, well, not excited, but worried that he might never wrestle
retire, all of that stuff. Yeah. We spoke about it on camera then. But his comments on, I almost said combats. His comments on Jim Cornette here, I think, are pretty interesting. Now, obviously, these two, mostly Jim, throwing words at each other is nothing new.
No.
Cornette is a noted critic of Kenny. He's a noted modern wrestling critic in general. I use the word critic. We'll dive into it a little bit. But Kenny's basically speaking about here. And I think, and look, we're going to ignite the comment section by putting this story in the video anyway, but I think this is a really accurate explanation of what Jim Cornette is in 2020.
I've not read this, so I'm excited.
I think Jim Cornette has backed himself into a corner where now he's found this group of extremely pathetic human beings who have no other thing to aspire to become, or no one else to base their life off of, or no one to listen to, no one to adhere to their commands. And so when it became a character that he could play as though he was traveling up and down the strip in the indies, like back in the old days, now he's got this group of people hanging off his every word. And all he has to do is sit and talk on a podcast with some other guy. Continued a little bit saying that when Jim realized he could make money by delivering hateful speech, he backed himself into a corner. And now if he wants to make rent, he has to talk about the things that are going to get attention. And a lot of the time that is going to be yours truly. Now, interesting stuff here. I think that if you want to, pull this apart, there's definitely some, to me, people will disagree, there's something to the argument that Jim Cornette absolutely plays up the elements of his character that make the most headlines and makes the most outlandish points. And quite frequently, unfortunately, this ends up in situations like in 2017, where he compared Kenny and Kota Ibushi to Adolf Hitler. That's a thing, you can look it up. Very hysterical stuff. The Young Bucks, I think, branded it shock job tactics. That's exactly what it is, I think. And it's, Michael Hamflett put it really well this morning. It's kind of a shame because Jim, with his experience and his knowledge as a historian, and he's really good on Dark Side of the Ring and stuff like that. And he's a great commentator, great manager. he could be such an asset if he wasn't content with making headlines with these sensationalist rants. Whether or not you think there's truth to his criticisms and stuff, the things he says are just so outlandish and so insanely in one direction that to me it's impossible to take them in good faith. Now, we will all disagree. I acknowledge that completely. I'm a big proponent of just letting stuff disappear into the ether. However, as Kenny is so frequently a target of this stuff, and he's been faced with just really bad crap from this group of people that Cornette is partly responsible for mobilizing on Twitter and various other places, he's more than entitled to his words here. And talking about like pathetic human beings and stuff, that is nothing compared to some of the stuff that Jim has said about him over the years. So hey, it's fair play.
Yeah, I don't really want to go anywhere near this one. We've already talked a lot
about it.
Yeah,
I'll take the heat here, brother.
And the comment section's already going to be quite fun. I think there's some very, like you say, I think there's a lot of truth to what Kenny Omega said there. I think Jim Cornette to this day still makes some very valid points, but I completely agree with what you say there in the fact that he often takes it to the extreme.
That's the thing.
To get the attention.
That's the thing, isn't it? They could well be valid criticisms, but the way they're presented renders them invalid because it's so hysterical and Kenny's right, sometimes hateful, that to me it's just not worth listening to. And it's a shame. You know what? I'll sign off on this. I'll tell you this. If Jim Cornette did a podcast solely about old wrestling, the wrestling he likes, I would listen to that every hour of every day.
Yeah.
I think that would be absolutely brilliant.
His stories are so good, yeah.
The guy knows so much and he's lived through so much, but he fell out with Dave Meltzer because they like different wrestling and they'd been friends for years and all this. It's just, gee whiz.
Can't we all just get along?
There's more to life.
Well, let's find out in the comments.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun. Finally, let's tell you about a repackaging of an NXT 2.0 star, former NXT UK star, A-Kid. By the looks of things on last night's Great American Bash premium live event, he is getting repackaged into Axiom. Which is a maths guy. Science, maths. He's working out all the codes and the probabilities and solving problems throughout his life, and now he's taking that to the wrestling ring. It's another convoluted gimmick on 2.0.
Yeah, it seems very much like this is another, you had this name on the indies, we want to own the terms, so we're renaming you, we're repackaging you. Of course, it's NXT 2.0, so it's going to be a big weird character.
Yes.
That will either be really fun, really terrible, or so terrible it's fun, or just earnestly good.
Yeah.
So
as long as he keeps wrestling like A-Kid wrestles, you can call him anything.
Yeah,
call him Gary.
He's a tremendous wrestler. I first became aware of him a few years ago with the Zack Sabre Jr. match he had for White Wolf. One of our followers, I think Ben, shouts to, sorry if I got your name wrong.
Hell of a deep pull that.
Sent it to me. It was awesome. Good wrestler. Yeah, let's see what happens, man.
Yes, excited
see
to
what
see
happens.
Axiom. How you do
He's got an
math.
abacus.
If he ever gets rolled up, then the gimmick's done.
Screwed, isn't he?
Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions. At WhatCulture WWE, of course, you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from John Harrison, who says, "Good morning, chaps.
Hi, John.
On a scale of 1 to FML, that's flip my life. What are the chances Theory cashes in on Drew at Clash at the Castle, assuming Drew beats Roman? Have a great day, boys. You have a great day too, John."
Yeah, just ruin everyone's big moment in the UK. Look, you can't ever rule this stuff out, particularly in WWE where they do the ultimate like heat angle or whatever. I don't think they'll do that. I do think that they will try and close that show with the fans going home happy, as cliche as it is. It would be quite funny though, wouldn't it?
Yes.
It would be quite funny watching the world burn. But no, I don't want them to do it, and I don't think they will.
I don't think he's going to cash in this year. I don't think he might not even cash in before WrestleMania, you know.
He might Sandow himself, like you said yesterday.
Yeah, he might fail a cash in or lose the briefcase. I think he has to have a successful cash in, just because the recent years of the men's Money in the Bank briefcase is all a bit like, ugh, you won it. Actually, no, we don't want you to have it. We'll give it to this person. And it's far better, like you say, as this ominous cloud hanging over everything with a heel holding it. But yeah, you don't buy him beating the tribal chief, for example.
No.
Dustin Parry gives us our second question today, saying, "Good morning, legends. If we are splitting up the Street Profits, instead of giving Dawkins the old Jannetty treatment, God no, where would you put him? Could he pull off a heel turn or maybe form a trio with the Alpha Academy?" He's been showcasing his skills a lot recently in the ring.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that Alpha Academy pitch because Dawkins kind of does. He's got that kind of jock energy, doesn't he? And you can buy him as a guy who would fit in with those dudes who are both legitimate athletes, and he obviously has a background himself in various athletic stuff. So yeah, like it's always been the case when you look at a tag team, and you reference Marty Jannetty, obviously that's the go-to. When you look at a tag team like this, where one guy is a bit more magnetic than the other, as has been the case with the Street Profits from day one, it feels like people have gone, that Montez Ford, he's going to be a single star. The other guy can often get lost in the shuffle. In fact, in Alpha Academy, there's a good parallel there with what happened to Tucker after Otis.
Yes.
Now, I personally have more hope for the Street Profits as singles dudes than Tucker or Otis. But yeah, that I think that's a really good pitch. I don't really have anything. That's just good.
No, you've nailed it there, Dustin.
Really good, yeah.
I think that, yeah, there's obviously more likelihood that Montez Ford will become a singles world champion than Angelo Dawkins. But I think especially recently, even this week on Raw, for example, in that match, you're like, this guy can you.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
He's not just someone who just eats offense so you can get the hot tag to Montez Ford by any stretch of the imagination. And yeah, an Otis Angelo Dawkins sandwich with Chad Gable as the meat in the middle. Excellent booking, Dustin.
Tremendous.
Kevin Spears. Didn't we have Kevin Spears yesterday? It's 2 for 2 this
Hey,
week.
Kevin, sliding
Keep asking
in.
good questions. I'll keep reading them. Kevin says, here's a question. Thanks, Kev. How does WWE deal with Survivor Series regarding Roman Reigns unless he can face himself, which would be interesting? Maybe he should ask Ezekiel for help. I don't know why he'd say that. Well, what would Ezekiel know about face? I don't know. But, yeah. Is he going to Superman punch himself?
Well, like Randy Orton in that fantasy booking, there's no more legends left. I'm going to argue myself. Look that up if you've never read
Yes.
it. My goodness. Wow. Yeah, what does he do? I think he's losing at least one of the belts to Drew.
Possibly.
At Clash at the Castle. But then do you run that back? I mean, it's kind of a well-known habit at this point to do things over and over on pay-per-view. If you were feeling generous...
Premium Live event.
Sorry.
Where are you, man?
If you were... I saw the nerdiest sentence on Twitter the other day. It was like...
Sorry about that.
It's a premium live event, not a paper... Someone being earnest. Like, who cares?
Just invented WWE verbiage.
It's a show, brother. It doesn't matter. I've lost my train of thought here. I think if you were being a generous and optimistic booker, you might go, hey, why don't you do... If Roman's still champion, him and Braun Breaker... make a star, all of that stuff. But would they put that at the very top? I'm not so sure.
I've got an answer. Book Survivor Series well. Really easy. You don't have to do brand versus brand.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, when it was brand versus brand, that was like, cool, two people who've never faced each other before. Now, everyone's faced everyone.
T-shirt time, baby!
Everyone shows up on other brands anyway. Liv Morgan was on Raw, and then she got on SmackDown, blah, blah, blah.
Do you make Liv Morgan, it'll make it like professional football, where you have the double scarves with the two teams on it.
The half and halves.
A two-teamed half and half T-shirt.
But just have Team Murray and Team Wilt, but like, just do that. Find 5 guys. Hamflett always talks about the good old days, when he was, 40 or whatever, growing up. And it was Team Hogan versus Team someone else. Yeah. And on Team Hogan were all the good guys. And on the other team were all the bad guys. And they all had reasons to hate one person in the team, but then you also had crossover. Just think about that between now and in November. It's not difficult, is it?
You got 4 months. You know what would be a really fun Twitter question that somebody should definitely ask us, preferably around 7 a.m. tomorrow morning UK time, because that's when we see the question.
You can schedule tweets, guys.
Me and Willie draft our office Survivor Series teams.
Oh man,
that would be a fun
days.
Twitter question, and you should ask that question. I don't know if you can hear that because the microphone's here, but
He said you should ask that question.
Yeah, do that. We might.
Make like 20 questions of that tomorrow.
I might just make an account to do that question. Very cool video man asks.
Let's move on to today's and finally. And I'll be honest, I don't know if this is a thing or could become a thing. I don't think it's a thing yet because AEW make, let's be honest, crap t-shirts for the most part.
Yeah, I don't like the Butcher one is amazing.
The Butcher one is there's few limited ones. Hooks is good. Anything involving Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Magic, great, yeah. But for the most part, they're crap. So, shout out to Kato Macabre on Reddit. It was trending on Squared Circle. If this isn't a thing, it needs to become a thing. Have you seen the new Sesame Daddy Ass t-shirts?
What? Yes, I like it. Okay.
Make this a thing.
Yeah,
I will wear this to a wedding or in public.
I'll wear it on the occasion of this. I don't know what this occasion is.
Day of my daughter's wedding.
There you go. Horse's head in your bed. Anyway.
Let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. Daily Wrestling Podcast. We're going to be reviewing the Great American Bash and looking ahead to a stacked AEW Dynamite tonight. 2 title matches?
2.
Yeah. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at...
Follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H today stands for Happy Birthday, Phil Chambers.
Oh, yeah, happy anniversary to me. That's what today is.
Oh,
it's my anniversary and nothing else.
Sorry, Phil.
I own this day, Phil Chambers.
Sorry, Phil.
Happy birthday, mate. Go and wish him a happy birthday.
Can't believe it's been 3 years since Reef the band. Actually, speaking of Phil, he had the best outfit of all time at your wedding.
He did.
No spoilers. It was tremendous.
Go and wish him a happy birthday at Phil My Chambers on Twitter.
He looked like Jimmy Cranky with the hat. It was awesome.
Maybe we'll reshare some photos today. At Adam Wilborn for me, at What Culture WWE for all of us. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.
God, this was long.